He walked in undercover to feel the soul of his restaurant and walked out wondering if it even had one left. They say if you want the truth, watch how people treat someone they think can't do anything for them. That thought echoed in Darius Ellington's mind as he stepped out of his car and looked up at the green and yellow neon sign above the front door, Ellie's Grill. He hadn't walked through that door as a customer in over a year. As the owner, he was always either in meetings, handling suppliers, or working behind the scenes to keep the place running smoothly. But something had been eating at him lately. A few anonymous reviews, some murmurs from folks he trusted, complaints that didn't sound like his diner. His gut told him something was off. So he did what most bosses wouldn't. He dressed down. Old jeans with a tiny rip near the knee, a faded black hoodie zipped halfway, and a Braves cap pulled low over his brow. No one would recognize him like this, not even the folks he paid every 2 weeks. He walked into the diner at 12:46 p.m., right in the heart of the lunch rush. The smells hit him first. Slow-cooked brisket, sweet cornbread, and the sharp tang of barbecue sauce in the air. It was the kind of scent that made you forget your troubles for a minute. Ellie, his grandma, used to say food was just a warm hug with flavor. This place was supposed to feel like that, like her. But as Darius stepped in line and glanced around, something already felt different. No one greeted him, not even a look up and smile. One of the cashiers, Kendall, a lanky kid with short twists and a permanently bored expression, was tapping his phone under the counter, while the other, a girl named Marina, chewed gum so loudly he could hear it over the country music playing through the speakers. "Next," Marina said, without looking up. Darius stepped forward. "Can I get the pulled pork sandwich and a side of baked beans, please?" Still not making eye contact, she tapped on the screen. "That it?" "Yeah, thanks." He paid in cash and stepped to the side to wait for his order. That's when he heard it. "You see him?" Kendall said, smirking as he slid his phone into his pocket. "Another one of those walk-ins, probably off Peachtree." Marina laughed. "Bet he don't even tip. They never do. That's what happens when you start letting just anybody in here. Ever since they hired from that shelter program or whatever, it's been going downhill fast." Darius blinked. "They say the owner's some rich dude. Black guy too," she went on. "But he never comes around. Probably sitting in Buckhead sipping green juice or something. Meanwhile, we in here doing everything." Kendall chuckled. "Bet he don't even know half the people he hired." Darius stood perfectly still. His sandwich was probably already being made in the back, but he didn't move. They didn't recognize him. Not a flicker of familiarity. He should have been angry. He was angry. But under that heat was something colder, something deeper. Disappointment. This place, this home, meant something to him. Ellie's Grill wasn't just about ribs and cornbread. It was about giving folks a shot. Folks who'd been ignored or locked out like he had been once. But now it sounded like the people wearing his name on their uniforms didn't believe in the very heart of the place. He looked around. An older man in a suit sat near the window, frowning at his drink. A young mother tried to calm her toddler as she waited for a server who hadn't checked in for 10 minutes. There was no laughter, no warmth. Ellie wouldn't have recognized this place. Darius turned, walked slowly to the counter, and said, "Actually, cancel that sandwich." Kendall barely looked up. "You sure?" "Yeah," Darius replied, his voice flat. "Lost my appetite." Then he walked out, pulled the door closed behind him, and sat in his car, staring at the steering wheel. The air felt heavy. His fingers tapped a slow rhythm on the dashboard. He wasn't sure what hurt more, the fact that they didn't know him or the fact that they didn't care. But he wasn't done, not even close. He had to see just how deep this problem ran, and it was time to listen before he spoke. Darius didn't drive off right away. He leaned back in the driver's seat, the engine still quiet, his hoodie bunched up against the headrest. The words were still fresh in his ears, that lazy mockery, that carelessness. It wasn't just what they said, it was how easily they said it, like they'd done it before.
He watched through the windshield as customers came and went. A teenager in a school uniform, a construction worker brushing dust off his boots, a couple arguing softly as they slid into a booth. This wasn't just any diner. This was his grandmother's name glowing above the door, and somehow that light didn't mean anything to the people inside anymore. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Eventually, he stepped out, walked down the street, grabbed a coffee from the gas station on the corner, and came back around to the alley behind the restaurant. No cameras back there, just a beat-up steel door where the cooks took smoke breaks. And right above it, a cracked open kitchen window. That's when he heard more. Inside, someone was laughing. A deep, chesty laugh. Big Reggie, the grill master. Darius recognized that laugh from years ago when he'd hired Reggie after a halfway house recommendation. Reggie had been down bad, but he worked hard and turned his whole life around. He even mentored the younger kitchen guys. "Now I'm telling you, man," Kendall's voice rang out again. "He ain't never coming back. If he does, he'll probably just walk in all fancy, act like he invented gumbo or something." Laughter. "Yeah," Marina added. "Mr. Ghost Boss. That's what I call him. Got his little picture on the wall, but he don't show his face. What kind of boss runs a joint like that?" Reggie didn't laugh. Instead, Darius heard a chair creak. "You all know he started this place with like $200 and a smoker in his driveway, right?" Reggie said, low and steady. "Yeah, so?" Marina shot back. "So watch your mouth," Reggie muttered. "This ain't just a job for some folks. Some of us remember what this place used to mean." A long silence. Kendall scoffed. "Man, relax. You act like he died or something." "I'm just saying, if he don't care enough to show up, why should we care more than we have to?" Reggie exhaled loud enough to be heard through the window. "Keep talking like that, and you'll find out real quick why folks don't stick around here," he said. "Respect goes both ways." Darius stepped back from the wall. He didn't know whether to be proud of Reggie or ashamed that Kendall and Marina had slipped through the cracks in the first place. Where had he gone wrong? When did being hands-off become being absent? He remembered Ellie's words.
Words she used to repeat while stirring pots of greens in a tiny kitchen in Macon, Georgia. "You can't plant a garden and forget to water it, baby. Don't matter how good the seeds are." He'd hired good people, but he'd left them unsupervised, without guidance, without accountability, without him. And maybe that was worse than being a bad boss, being invisible. But before he made any decisions, he needed to hear more, see more. That night, Darius sent out a group message to the full staff. "Team meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Attendance is required, no exceptions." No explanation, no emojis, just enough to rattle them. Then he booked a hotel just outside Marietta, away from his regular spots, and sat at a corner table with a notepad, scribbling down every detail he could remember. Tomorrow wasn't about firing anybody, not yet. It was about something bigger, fixing the soul of the place. But to do that, he had to face the people who were poisoning it and the ones trying to save it. And he had to do it without the hoodie. The next morning came fast. Darius barely slept, not because of nerves, but because his mind wouldn't shut off. Every moment from the day before replayed on a loop. Marina's gum-sing mockery, Kendall's smug tone, and Reggie trying to hold the line on a ship slowly drifting. At 8:47 a.m., Darius sat outside the diner in a parked car again. This time, no hoodie, no disguise, just a charcoal blazer over a clean button-down, jeans, and boots. His usual look when he dropped by before the pandemic changed everything. From the car, he watched as each employee showed up one by one. Marina, late, phone in hand, barely glancing up from the screen. Kendall, laughing to himself, probably at some meme, earbuds in. Reggie, first one in, already unlocking the side door with a key that Darius had given him personally. Then others, 2 dishwashers, 3 waitresses, a cook named Charisse, who Darius had hired after she finished culinary school and couldn't get a chance anywhere else. He waited until the clock hit 9:02, then opened the car door and stepped out. Heads turned. The first to spot him was Charisse. Her eyebrows shot up. Then Reggie, His eyes locked with Darius's, and the man gave a barely there nod, respectful, familiar. But Marina and Kendall, they froze like someone had pulled the plug on their voices. Darius walked past them without a word and entered his own diner. Inside, the staff had gathered near the front booths, awkwardly spaced out, unsure if they should sit or stand. He let the silence hang a little longer than necessary. Then he cleared his throat. "I won't keep you long," he said, "but I need to say some things, and I want you to hear me, really hear me." He paused. "This place, it's named after my grandmother, Ellie Mae Ellington. She passed 15 years ago, but if you'd ever met her, you'd understand why this place means more than money or food or 5-star reviews." Charisse's eyes softened. Reggie stood straighter. She was the kind of woman who fed people whether they could pay or not, who gave second chances like they were candy, who believed folks weren't broken, just overlooked. He scanned the room. Marina stared down to her sneakers. Kendall looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. "When I started Ellie's Grill, I wanted to build her kitchen at scale, a place where people could eat, work, laugh, and feel like they belonged." He stepped forward. "But yesterday, I walked in and didn't recognize what I built." That got their attention.
"I came in dressed down, ordered a sandwich, stood right there," he said, pointing to the spot. "And I heard 2 employees talking about the man who supposedly owns this place, saying he don't show up, saying he don't care, talking about new hires like they're trash. He didn't have to say their names. The entire room knew. I heard it all. And I walked out without my sandwich, without raising my voice, because I needed to understand what went wrong." He looked directly at Marina, then Kendall. "I own this place. I built it with scraped knees and borrowed money. But somewhere along the way, I let things slide. I stopped showing up. That's on me." He took a breath. "But that disrespect, that carelessness, that's on you." The room was still. The kind of still that happens when the truth sits heavy in the middle and no one can dodge it. Nobody moved. Not a shuffle, not a cough. Just 20 eyes stuck on Darius like he'd flipped the floor upside down. Marina finally looked up, just barely. Her face had that half smile people wear when they know they messed up but don't want to admit it yet. Kendall leaned back against the counter, arms folded, expression tight. He was trying to play it cool, but his foot tapped faster than he probably realized. Darius stepped closer to the middle of the room. "I'm not here to yell," he said calmly, "but I am here to fix this." He glanced at Reggie. "Some of y'all still carry the heart of this place, and I appreciate that more than you know. Others," he turned to the rest, "you've been clocking in, grabbing paychecks, and treating this place like it's beneath you. That ends now." The silence cracked a little as a server named Tiana, mid-30s, raised her hand slowly. "Mr. Ellington," she said, "I didn't know you were watching like that, but thank you for showing up." He gave her a nod. "I should have done it sooner," he replied. "I let my distance become confusion, let folks fill in the blanks with stories that weren't true." He turned back toward the front, now addressing them all. "I'm putting everything on the table. New rules, new expectations, but also new chances." He pulled out a piece of paper from his back pocket and unfolded it. "Starting next week, we're doing monthly staff check-ins, real ones, not 5-minute hallway chats. I'll be in here twice a week. You'll see my face. And we're reintroducing customer feedback reviews, not the ones on Yelp, real ones from the people sitting in those booths." Someone muttered, "About time." But it wasn't sarcastic, it was hopeful. "But listen close," he added, his voice hardening just slightly. "If you don't want to be here, don't clock in. Don't waste my time or insult this place by pretending. This ain't just a job, not here. If you can't bring respect into this building, respect for the people, the food, the purpose, you're free to leave." Nobody walked out yet. Then he turned slowly toward Marina and Kendall. They straightened, but neither said a word. "You two," he said. "Come with me." He walked toward the back and held the door open without looking back. After a beat, They followed. They stepped into the narrow hallway near the pantry. No customers, no eyes, just them and him. Darius shut the door gently behind them. "I'm giving you this moment," he said, voice quiet now, "to speak freely. Tell me what this place means to you or doesn't."
Kendall exhaled and looked away. Marina folded her arms. Darius waited. I just work here, Kendall said finally. It's not personal. It's a check. Then you've been cashing the wrong kind of check, Darius replied, because this place was never just about food. Marina looked at him. Okay, but you weren't around though. We felt like it didn't matter. Fair, Darius admitted. That's on me. I stepped away and I shouldn't have. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. But how does that justify talking about other staff like they're garbage or mocking the same man who signs your checks? You think that kind of talk builds trust? Marina looked down. No, she said quietly. Kendall didn't say anything. Darius continued. I'm not firing you, not today. Because maybe what this place needs isn't fewer people, but better ones. Ones who learn, ones who grow. He pointed to the kitchen door. But you've got one shot to prove you belong. That starts now. Show me you care. Now with words, with how you treat people. And if you can't, walk away. No one moved. He pushed the door open and walked out, leaving it up to them to follow. Back in the main room, the energy had shifted. It wasn't cheerful, but it was alert, focused. Darius clapped his hands together once. All right, we open in 30. Let's see if Ellie's still in this room. But even as they got to work, he knew this wasn't over. Not yet. The real test was still coming. The lunch rush came right on time. By 12:05 p.m., the line was already curving near the front door. Regulars mixed with first-timers, kids asking for extra fries, a man in overalls reading a folded-up newspaper while sipping sweet tea. Life poured into the diner the way it used to. But Darius didn't sit back. He stood near the coffee station with a notepad in hand, quietly watching. No yelling, no micromanaging, just eyes open, taking mental notes. Charisse handled the grill like it was muscle memory. Reggie moved through the kitchen like a conductor with an orchestra. Tiana smiled at each table she visited, cracking quiet jokes that actually got laughs. But at the register, that's where things were shaky. Marina was trying. You could tell. She smiled more today, stood straighter, said thank you like she meant it. But it was awkward, like someone wearing new shoes they hadn't broken in. Kendall stayed quiet, took orders quickly, avoided eye contact, and disappeared to the back any chance he got. By 12:46, same time as the day before, Darius watched a young man in a faded hoodie walk in, probably no more than 19. Nervous, fidgety, he had one hand in his pocket and scanned the place like he was looking for exits. Marina glanced at him, then quickly looked away. Kendall stepped back from the counter. That's when Reggie walked out from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. He nodded once at the young man and said, "You got this." The kid hesitated, then stepped forward and spoke to Marina. Can I get the catfish combo with greens instead of fries?" His voice barely carried. Marina tapped the screen. That it? He nodded. As she rang it up, Darius watched her glance over at Kendall, who didn't return her look. He just turned away, arms crossed. "Order up in 10, Marina mumbled. "Thanks," the kid said. Then he stepped aside, clutching the receipt like it might fly away. Darius had seen enough. When the line cleared, he walked over to the counter and looked Marina dead in the eye. Kendall exhaled and looked away. Marina folded her arms. Darius waited. I just work here, Kendall said finally. It's not personal. It's a check. Then you've been cashing the wrong kind of check, Darius replied, because this place was never just about food. Marina looked at him. Okay, but you weren't around though. We felt like it didn't matter. Fair, Darius admitted. That's on me. I stepped away and I shouldn't have. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. But how does that justify talking about other staff like they're garbage or mocking the same man who signs your checks? You think that kind of talk builds trust? Marina looked down. No, she said quietly. Kendall didn't say anything. Darius continued. I'm not firing you, not today. Because maybe what this place needs isn't fewer people, but better ones. Ones who learn, ones who grow. He pointed to the kitchen door. But you've got one shot to prove you belong. That starts now. Show me you care. Now with words, with how you treat people.
And if you can't, walk away." No one moved. He pushed the door open and walked out, leaving it up to them to follow. Back in the main room, the energy had shifted. It wasn't cheerful, but it was alert, focused. Darius clapped his hands together once. "All right, we open in 30. Let's see if Ellie is still in this room." But even as they got to work, he knew this wasn't over. Not yet. The real test was still coming. The lunch rush came right on time. By 12:05 p.m., the line was already curving near the front door. Regulars mixed with first-timers, kids asking for extra fries, a man in overalls reading a folded-up newspaper while sipping sweet tea. Life poured into the diner the way it used to. But Darius didn't sit back. He stood near the coffee station with a notepad in hand, quietly watching. No yelling, no micromanaging, just eyes open, taking mental notes. Charisse handled the grill like it was muscle memory. Reggie moved through the kitchen like a conductor with an orchestra. Tiana smiled at each table she visited, cracking quiet jokes that actually got laughs. But at the register, that's where things were shaky. Marina was trying. You could tell. She smiled more today, stood straighter, said thank you like she meant it. But it was awkward, like someone wearing new shoes they hadn't broken in. Kendall stayed quiet, took orders quickly, avoided eye contact, and disappeared to the back any chance he got. By 12:46, same time as the day before, Darius watched a young man in a faded hoodie walk in, probably no more than 19. Nervous, fidgety, he had one hand in his pocket and scanned the place like he was looking for exits. Marina glanced at him, then quickly looked away. Kendall stepped back from the counter. That's when Reggie walked out from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. He nodded once at the young man and said, "You got this." The kid hesitated, then stepped forward and spoke to Marina. Can I get the catfish combo with greens instead of fries?" His voice barely carried. Marina tapped the screen. "That it?" He nodded. As she rang it up, Darius watched her glance over at Kendall, who didn't return her look. He just turned away, arms crossed. "Order up in 10, Marina mumbled. "Thanks," the kid said. Then he stepped aside, clutching the receipt like it might fly away. Darius had seen enough. When the line cleared, he walked over to the counter and looked Marina dead in the eye.
"You know who that was?" She blinked. "No, should I?" "Name's Isaiah Penn. Just started the shelter program last week. Came here on recommendation." Marina's mouth opened slightly. "Oh, he's not dangerous. He's not broken. He's just trying to start over like a lot of people who've worked here." He waited. Marina's face changed. Not dramatically, but just enough. A flicker of guilt. Maybe understanding. "He looked like he wanted to disappear," she said softly. Darius nodded. "That's how most people feel when the world makes them feel small." She looked down. "I'm sorry. I mean it." "I know," he said. "But don't say it to me. Say it through how you treat the next 10 people." A few minutes later, Isaiah got his food. Reggie handed it to him personally, with a smile and a fist bump. That was the spark. The rest of the shift ran smoother than it had in weeks, like the engine had finally found the right oil. By the end of the day, the tip jar was full, the kitchen was spotless, and people lingered just a little longer after their meals. Darius sat at his usual booth by the window as the staff began cleaning up. Kendall walked over slowly, wiping his hands on a rag. He looked nervous, but not cocky. "I talked too much," he said. "Didn't realize how loud I was." "You weren't just loud," Darius replied, not unkindly. "You were wrong." Kendall nodded. "Yeah." Silence for a second. Then he added, "I don't want to lose this job. I'll do better." Darius gave a short nod. "I believe in second chances, but only when the first one gets acknowledged." Kendall straightened up. "Got it." He walked off. Not puffed up, not crushed, just thinking. The culture wasn't fixed, but today it had cracked open and light was finally starting to come through. The next morning, Darius was back before sunrise. He stood alone in the quiet kitchen, coffee cup in hand, staring at a worn photo pinned to the corkboard above the prep table. It was his grandmother, Ellie, in her favorite church hat, arms crossed, smiling with that tough, loving look that told you she didn't play, but she still had your back. He whispered out loud, "I almost lost this place, Grandma." Then he turned on the lights. By 8 a.m., the smell of bacon and biscuit dough drifted into the air. He'd asked the team to meet again, no surprise this time, just to check in before breakfast service. They gathered in the main dining room, sitting on booths, leaning on counters. The atmosphere was lighter than it had been all week. Darius stepped forward. "I want to thank y'all for yesterday. That was the first time in a while this place felt like it used to." A few heads nodded. Reggie smiled quietly from the back. "But one day doesn't fix everything," he added. "It just shows who's willing to try." He let that hang for a second before continuing. "So today, I'm giving everyone a choice. A real one." He pulled out 2 folders from under his arm and held them up. "This one's for those who want to stay," he said, "who believe in what this place stands for and are willing to show up, not just physically, but with heart." He raised the second one. "This one's for anyone who wants to move on. No questions, no hard feelings. You sign the paper, finish today's shift, and you'll get 2 weeks' pay and a recommendation letter." A ripple moved through the room. Shanace whispered something to Tiana. Kendall looked down at the floor.
Marina rubbed her palms against her thighs. "You don't have to decide now," Darius added. "But by tonight, I'll need an answer." He placed the folders on the counter. "No shame either way. But don't stay here just to clock in. That's not fair to anyone. Especially not the people walking through that front door." That was the end of it. No drama, no long speeches, just choice. As the staff slowly got to work, Darius moved through the kitchen and back to his booth by the window. He didn't hover. He didn't watch over their shoulders. He trusted the choice they were about to make would speak louder than any performance could. By mid-morning, the first form was signed. Reggie slid it across the counter. "I'm staying," he said, like it wasn't even a question. "This place saved me. Time to return the favor." Charisse followed not long after. Then Tiana. One by one, the forms came in. But it wasn't all good news. Marina sat across from Darius around 4:15 p.m. She hadn't touched her lunch. "I think I need to go," she said quietly. He looked her in the eyes. "You sure?" She nodded. "I don't think I was ever really built for a place like this. I was chasing a paycheck. You need people who chase purpose." He didn't argue. "Thank you for being honest," he said. "You handled today with more grace than I expected. That matters." She gave a faint smile, stood up, and left her uniform folded on the chair. Kendall came in last. It was already past closing. The only sounds left were mop buckets rolling and chairs scraping across tile. He placed his form on the table. "I'm staying," he said, voice steadier than before. "And I'll earn it this time." Darius looked him over. "Don't make me regret it." Kendall cracked the smallest grin. "You won't." It wasn't a perfect ending, but maybe that was the point. Real change doesn't happen all at once. It happens when people are finally brave enough to choose it. 1 week later, Ellie's grill felt different. Not louder, not busier, just right. The front bell had its familiar ding again. The register clicked with rhythm, and the kitchen sang with motion. But the biggest shift wasn't the food or the flow. It was the people. They greeted customers like neighbors. They joked without biting. They cleaned like it mattered, because now it did. On Thursday, a man in a charcoal suit came in and sat near the front. First-timer, out-of-towner. He looked around with that stiff business traveler look, like he'd wandered into the wrong place. But Tiana spotted him, brought him water before he could ask, and said with a warm smile, "Catfish is best today, just saying." By the time he left, he had the go containers for his hotel fridge and a new favorite spot on his map. Darius watched it all from behind the counter, arms folded, but this time, not out of stress. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't scouting. He was home. Charisse slid him a plate of peach cobbler with her signature touch, brown sugar crust with a little cinnamon dusted on top. "I fixed it just like Ellie's recipe," she said proudly. He took one bite and smiled.
"That's the one," he said. "She'd be proud of you." Later that afternoon, Isaiah came in again, this time smiling, hoodie off, shirt tucked in. He'd landed a job cleaning buses over on Glenwood. He'd just stopped by to thank Reggie. "I'm good, man," he said. "Really? First time I've said that in a while." Reggie clapped him on the back. "That's what this place is for." Word had started to spread, not on Yelp or Instagram, just the old way, through people. A mom told her sister. A mailman told a retired vet. One of the janitors from the courthouse brought 3 coworkers in on their lunch break. And quietly, Ellie's grill became what it was always meant to be again. Not perfect, but true. At closing, Darius walked out to the lot alone. He leaned against the building, arms crossed, staring at the sign glowing above him. That old green and yellow neon had a flicker now, just one tube going dim in the corner. But he didn't call an electrician. He liked the imperfection. It reminded him the place still had room to grow, just like the people inside. Charisse stepped out behind him, tying her apron up. "You heading out?" "In a few," he said, "just giving myself a minute." She paused. "You good?" He nodded slowly. "I think I am." She smiled, then held out a folded sheet of paper. "Customer left this on the table. Said it was for the owner." He opened it. It was handwritten, messy cursive. "Been coming here since y'all opened. Thought I lost the feeling when it changed. But today it felt like Ellie again. Whoever she was, I can tell she's still here. Thank you." He read it twice, folded it, put it in his back pocket, like something too important to leave behind. Shuri said nothing, just smiled again and went back inside. Darius stayed there for another few minutes, then finally whispered, "We're still watering, Grandma," and walked back inside. Because no matter what you build in this world, it's not the walls or the name that makes it worth something. It's the people who protect the spirit behind it. Never assume a strong foundation means your work is done. Culture needs maintenance. Respect needs reminding. And second chances, they need space to grow. Show up for your people, your purpose, and yourself. If this story hit you somewhere real, share it. Not for views, but because somebody out there needs to hear it. Somebody who stopped showing up. Somebody who forgot what they built. Remind them it's not too late to walk back in and fix it.
If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to The Black Voice, and remember to like and share the video. Your support keeps these powerful stories alive.